All right. Thank you all again for joining us today for the second part of our series of virtual meetings where DIR will take your questions on some very important resources that can help you during this COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you all are doing well. I hope we are finding you all safe and healthy and adjusted to this situation. Again, my name is Andy Silva. I am the Director of Program Development here at DIR. This is, as I mentioned earlier, the second part of our COVID-19 series. The first part of our series was regarding technology procurement and solutions. If you missed that, we have a link to it on our website. We have the slide deck as well as a recording of that webinar. So don't worry, if you missed the first part, you will not miss any references in the second part. We will try to make it easily understandable for you all. The idea for this meeting really came out of some of the questions we were seeing coming through DIR, through our discussion lists, and we were seeing that a lot of organizations and organization representatives needed some help with COVID-19 related issues. So on that note, we are targeting this presentation on COVID-19, specifically for cybersecurity. And we have geared this presentation to Texas state and local government organizations, including school districts, junior colleges, and public universities. So this is high-level information that could be applicable to many organizations, but we will give you a chance to ask us your questions that may be specific to your organization later. While DIR has set up that COVID-19 webpage, we really hope that this will be another resource. This town hall will be a resource for you in the future. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to type them at any time. We have that question pane. We have a host of DIR staff in the back end ready to answer your questions and them taken care of so that we can get you all what you need. One more time, reminder about that handouts panel. We have a few handouts from DIR that we have the presentation. So this, for any of you needing to see this presentation or wondering if the slide deck will be available, you could go ahead and grab that now. It's in the handouts pane. And then we have a few resources that DIR has pulled together, virtual collaboration tips, tips for teleworking, and for conducting virtual meetings. So if you all want to go ahead and grab those, we can reference them throughout this presentation, but they're good resources for you to have now. Okay, so with all that covered, logistics taken care of, I want to introduce our speakers for today. There we go. Again, I'm Andy Silva, the Director of Program Development. You will also be hearing from Joe Poole, our Network Security Operations Center Manager, Susie Hilliard, who's our Statewide Security Services Manager, and Jonathan King, Statewide Cyber Resilience and Response Manager. So you might hear those voices. Again, we have a bunch of DIR staff in the back end who are ready to assist you with your questions. So we're going to be going through a quick presentation before we get to the question and answer period. We're going to talk about some COVID-19 summary that we're seeing through our Network Security Operations Center, some more information from our Chief Information Security Office about COVID-19 cybersecurity information, some things that you might see from security alerts, bulletins, and communications. And following that presentation, we'll get into that question and answer period. So I think we are ready to go. I will hand it off to Joe Poole, who's going to talk about our Network Security Operations Center.
Thank you, Andy. You can go to the next slide. So as everyone knows, COVID-19 has spurred its own threats, if you will. One of the things that we're seeing at the NSOC, and for those that don't understand, the NSOC actually provides network security for most of the state agencies that are based in Austin. distributed denial of service attacks, DDoS attacks. We've seen a big uptick in those. We had several, as a fact, this weekend. It's really important for your own organization to have a working relationship with your network provider to help you mitigate these DDoS attacks as they occur. The other thing that we've seen a huge increase in is COVID-19 themed phishing activity. We are taking in that intelligence as soon as we can get it, and in a multiple of sources. I know of one source that we have that has over 373,000 COVID-19 indicators of compromise, either IP addresses or domain names. So it's really important to understand that the bad guys were already attacking supply chains before COVID-19, and by supply chains, any third-party supplier to your organization, contractors, any type of people that you were doing business with outside. They aim at them, compromise them, and then target the government target. So you can imagine that right now, that activity is tenfold in the amount of targeting that they're doing to the supply chain using COVID-19 themed phishing activity. So it's imperative that you continue to send out user awareness reminders, especially to anyone involved with purchasing or the supply chain within your organization. The other thing that we know is, and that we've seen, is because of teleworking and government employees going home, many institutions and entities are having to open up RDP ports as opposed to VPNs. So it's just really important to understand that they are attacking those. They're using all types of brute force attacks on that. Bluekeep is one of the exploits that they're trying right now. It's imperative that you keep your patching up to date and that you enforce strong passwords for your logins for those RDPs to help protect yourself. From the state agency perspective, with all of this, we also saw the need for increased capacity with teleworking and with the amount of services that are now being delivered online that used to be delivered face-to-face. And so we actually have doubled our internet capacity at the state, and we were able to successfully transition all of our perimeter security tools to handle that traffic. And that's how we're working with COVID-19 right now. We're continually to battle the DDoS attacks. We're continually taking in intelligence and blocking COVID-19 themed phishing attempts. We're watching all of the RDP ports, not just RDP on Windows, but also VNC, Secure Shell. We're watching all of those remote type ports and keeping a close eye on those, and we've increased our capacity. And so that's how the Network Operations Center is dealing with the threats that we're seeing with COVID-19. And with that, I'll turn it over to our next presenter.
All right, so let me get the slide deck here. Hello, everybody. I'm Susie Hilliard. I'm the statewide security services manager, and I wanted to kind of talk about some of the cybersecurity information that we posted. Anything related to COVID-19 you can find on our homepage as soon as you go to dir.texas.gov. This will be on the scrolling banner. You'll see the slide, and you can click on that COVID-19 preparedness, and that will take you to our website, which has a host of resources and any information that you need regarding not just cybersecurity stuff, but also regarding procurements and accessibility and all of that resources at your fingertips on the website here. In regards to cybersecurity, we have created a couple different tips flyers, and these are intended to be used by the general public. You can use them in your organization. We have teleworking tips, and we have virtual collaboration tools, security tips, which, especially with the Zoom with all the Zoom issues, we're kind of seeing that come in handy. So just to kind of give you an idea of what the tip sheets look like, here's what they look like. But when you're talking about teleworking tips, just a couple of tips that are included in here. Basically, if you're using your personal phone, you want to make sure that you've enabled security features on those devices. Make sure that you enable personal identification numbers or fingerprints or facial IDs. That helps anybody to prevent anybody else from getting onto your phone. That is handy to have. You want to make sure that you know the sensitivity of documents that you're working with. Make sure they're appropriately marked, and make sure that you don't leave them laying around in the desk. Like if you have confidential documents, you want to make sure that those are not just left on your desk so that anybody else can see them. We also have, for teleworking, some lifestyle tips, which that's definitely come in handy for me. The first one we have is creating a morning routine, making sure that you get started in your routine, and getting that set can really help you get going every day. Also going outside. In Austin, Texas, not right now with the storms happening, but on nice days, fresh air and sunlight can do you a lot of good. And then we also have virtual collaboration tools tips. And when we're talking about virtual collaboration tools, we're talking about Zoom, and we're talking about how do you use Skype and Teams securely. And there are tips on those specific platforms. But you also, want to look at making sure, like before you're sharing your screen, that unused windows are closed, and making sure that you're not sharing things that you're not intending to share. And you also want to, validate your participant list to make sure that people who are attending your meetings are intended participants. And so we're doing, here are some tips, just kind of showing you the different platforms that we have covered. And that said, that takes care of my section, and I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan King.
Thank you, Susie. My name is Jonathan King. I am the DIR CISO Statewide Resilience and Response Manager. And today I'd like to provide you with an update on some of the relevant security bulletins that that DIR has distributed and how to get them. Next slide, please. In support of the state's information security program, DIR CISO distributes security bulletins to the community. But with the COVID-19 pandemic, I'd like to draw your attention to some of the security-related bulletins that specifically deal with COVID-19. As you know, with the increased number of remote workers and the threat actors trying to take advantage of this situation, now it's so critical, as Joe mentioned earlier in the presentation. So as you can see on the right here, we have an example of what a DIR security bulletin will look like. These bulletins are distributed from DIR security at dir.texas.gov. We hope that we aim that these informational bulletins provide actionable or situational information and resources for our stakeholder community. Presently, we're distributing to approximately 1,400 local and state government employees. And if you'd like to get those alerts and you're not currently receiving them, we'll cover how you can register a little bit later. Next slide. So in addition to the email distribution, DIR posts the relevant COVID-19 bulletins on our cybersecurity hygiene page, which is accessible from the DIR COVID homepage. So these alerts are approved for public distribution at the TLP white level. And this is a central location where you can access COVID-19 relevant information. As we said before, there is so many different threat environments now that we're all teleworking, and we're very happy to be able to provide these in a centralized location where you can have access to them. So as I said, these are published online as we receive them, usually daily, and they're posted and approved for public distribution at the TLP white level. Next slide. So here an example of some of the security bulletin subjects that we have posted that are related to COVID-19. So these These bulletins provide everything from announcements to guidance and information that will help you better protect your organization. As Joe mentioned earlier, the state agencies are largely protected through the Network Security Operations Center, but as we have both local partners, be it school districts, cities, counties, and other partners on the call, I want to make sure and draw your attention to this information so that you can ingest it and to make sure that your organization is in its best cybersecurity posture. So calling your attention to two specific subjects, as was mentioned, these virtual collaboration tools, tips and policy guidance for, and usage guidance for end users, as well as some of the COVID-19 phishing campaign information that we have distributed. So we're seeing fraudulent emails relating to COVID-19 tests and COVID-19 personal protective equipment, trying to take advantage of people to harvest and gather credentials and potentially download malware. Additionally, we're seeing threat actors mimic official sources. We've seen some mimicking of federal resources, including the CDC and other agencies. And in those documents that we've distributed, through the bulletins that we've distributed, we have some of that information available to you. So this information comes together from our federal, state, regional, local, and private sector partners, and is available through the email distribution as well as the DIR COVID-19 site. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, each bulletin distributed is assigned a classification according to the TLP, or traffic light protocol. And if you're not familiar with that, it is a classification system that helps us protect information and ensure that it goes to those that are needing and can make informed decisions based off of that information. So there's four TLP classifications. So for example, TLP white, the information posted on the website and distributed via email is disclosure is not limited on that resource. Additionally, we distribute TLP green and TLP amber information through and from the DIR security email. That information may have additional disclosure limitations or restrictions. For reference, the TLP classification is in each email subject as well as in the body of the email. For additional information, you can reference this slide or the restrictions and information provided in each alert that's distributed. Next slide. And for reference, we have listed all the resources relevant to this presentation. I encourage you to become familiar with the DIR COVID website. There's great information by a lot of people put in there. As Susie mentioned, everything from security to procurement to accessibility, even into open meetings in the new environment that we find ourselves. Download and review the tool the telework and virtual collaboration tip sheets. Those, as mentioned, are distributed and available for public distribution to your employees and to your organization. And take a look at the OCISO security bulletins. It's on the cyber hygiene page at the very bottom. Next slide. And should your organization experience a security incident, the OCISO security line is available. That's the 877 number listed in the first bullet. This security line is more for reporting of active security incidents, for example, malware or ransomware, things of that nature. Additional state agencies have the option to report through the Spectrum portal. For general questions about security, you're more than welcome to email DIR security at dir.texas.gov. As mentioned here, that is a monitored email by our team, and we'll respond or find the most appropriate individual to respond to your question. As I mentioned earlier, these alerts and bulletins are going out to our security distribution lists. If you're not already on that security distribution list, I encourage you to register at lists.state.tx.us. You can see the mail link there. And as a reminder, those distributions are for government employees of independent school districts, institutions of higher education, cities, counties, public junior colleges, and state agencies. I'd like to say thank you so much for your time. I wish you well, and I'm going to turn this back to Indy.
Oops, sorry. Little mute problem there. Thanks, Jonathan, Susie, and Joe. This has been great information. As we had mentioned earlier, we wanted to keep the presentation portion of this short so that we give you all time to ask your questions of the cybersecurity staff here at DIR. We have a lot of resources available to you, so please submit your questions. We're going to start going through them and try to see if we can get some of these answered. So the first one, this is a very technical one. Any sticks, and Joe, this is for you, if you don't mind verbalizing this answer. Any sticks taxi feeds for ingestion of COVID-themed IOCs?
So yes, there are. We do not have one. We're not yet at Sticks Taxi. That's one of the things we're working on right now. However, I do have some partners who do have feeds available. And if you're interested in getting that information, you can contact me offline through email. It's joe.poole@dir.texas.gov. And I'll be happy to work with you to get you the feeds for that information.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Going through, we are funneling through questions, so keep them coming, and we will get them answered. So a few things coming up about House Bill 3834, and that is the cybersecurity training requirement. Susie, do you want to provide an overall overview of what it is and what we're seeing, and what is the decision that has been made as far as a deadline?
Sure, I'm absolutely happy to help. So regarding House Bill 3834 training, and keep in mind, we know that a lot of people have questions on this, but we're getting a lot of questions in the webinar regarding whether the deadline is going to be extended, about meeting for the training requirement on June 14th. And regarding that, we don't have the authority to alter that deadline that was set legislatively. We have reached out to ask about it, and there's no indication that that date is going to change. And in regards to everybody working remotely and all of this stuff being done from people's houses right now, we really want to focus and emphasize and place a priority on cybersecurity awareness training. So the training should remain a very, very high priority within your organization to kind of accommodate especially some of the stuff that Joe mentioned early on in the presentation.
Right, and I think that's a perfect point, Susie, that we're trying to make, is that if there's any time that there needs to be cybersecurity training, it is now, as we are all accessing things remotely, making sure our staff isn't doing anything unintentionally, and from DIR's perspective, we have a lot of resources for those cybersecurity trainings. I mean, some of them are as less than an hour to complete. So we've done our due diligence, and we're trying to make it as less burdensome as possible and trying to make it as easy as possible for you all. But we do have a variety of programs that you all can pick from, some that are range from PowerPoint presentations to actual entire learning management systems. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. We have a mix of programs that were created by an organization, and they have offered to share those programs. And those programs may be, like you said, Andy, a PowerPoint presentation. But we also have vendor programs on there as well that are certified. So that if you go to the to the DIR homepage. There is along that scrolling banner, one of the banners on there is for House Bill 3834, everything you need to know. That page will have the list of certified programs.
Right. Let's keep submitting your questions. We're getting through them. We're doing our best to get through 3834. So why does DIR, I guess the question is, what is DIR's role and why does it have to be an approved DIR? That is set forth in statute. Is that correct, Susie?
Yes, that was specified in the bill, that the program had to be certified by DIR.
Right. Okay. See, we're getting a lot of questions. We're funneling through them. So just real quick on the 3834, we definitely understand what a trying time this is for all of you all and how difficult it can be. We might not be able to address all the questions and specific to your situation in this webinar. So we are definitely taking note of the questions. We're keeping record of it, and we will follow up with you and do our best to engage you to help you meet this requirement as much as possible. Again, we're trying not to go down too much of the rabbit hole with 3834, but we do want to be able to answer your questions. So if we don't get to your specific question today, we will follow up soon. Okay, let's see. Sorry, y'all, bear with us. We are fielding some questions here. We will get back to you. Okay, real quick clarification on the certification information. If you go to our website, it's the second banner, so the big banner on our website, and we could definitely send out a link. We have a whole page dedicated to HB 3834, what is required, what it includes, and we will send that out to everybody.
Hey, Andy, this is Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan.
I wanted to provide a quick note real quick regarding some of the questions I've seen about open meetings in a virtual environment. So one of the resources on that resource page is DIR's guidance document for emergency and open meetings in a virtual environment. Some of the questions that we've had specifically is if we are, if you're using a virtual collaboration platform, you know, be it Zoom or WebEx or GoToWebinar, how do you prevent those platforms from being hijacked or being Zoom bombed? And we encourage you to review the tip sheet and review the guidance document. Additionally, the Office of the Attorney General provides an open meetings handbook and has an open meetings hotline where any questions can be addressed by the staff there. So just a few reminders that if you are using a virtual collaboration tool to conduct an open meeting, make sure that there's the ability to have the two-way communication and ensure that you have appropriate controls in place to minimize disruptions. Those might be things like muting attendees on entry, controlling who can share their desktop or share their video camera, and being receptive and open to questions asked through chat or through the voice interface. So just wanted to remind everybody that in addition to the Emergency Board Meetings Guide, which is in this slide, the Office of the Attorney General has a Texas Open Meetings Handbook and a hotline.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yes, that's super helpful. And we've been seeing a lot of discussion about those virtual collaboration tools, and especially for open meetings, because it has to be available, has to be open. So we are definitely suggesting that you all assess that risk for your organization. Think of the business needs that are necessary for that virtual collaboration, and really assess that risk for each tool.
Thank you, Indy.
Hey, Andy, there's a question that came in the queue. It asked what cybersecurity framework the state of Texas follows. Now, the state level, we follow the Texas Cybersecurity Framework, and that is based off of the NIST CSF for improving critical infrastructure cybersecurity. And so we can put a link to that at the end of the slides, or we can, I think to the person that asked the question, we actually put the link to that in the answer.
Perfect. Yes, so that came out. All right. Let's see. So quick question on whether an assessment has to be part of the cybersecurity training. Quick answer is no, it does not.
Correct.
Okay. Keep sending us your questions, y'all. We're fielding them as much as we can.
There's a question about large DIR certified vendors like Microsoft, asking if DIR is getting them to do their awareness program on behalf of this great state. So in regards to vendors that are we have a shared technology services program, and for those vendors that are working on with that program or in that program, we are ensuring that they have the cybersecurity training, and it's a certified program, then they all have to take it. Now, for each organization, they are all responsible for contractors that work at their agencies. So if you have vendors that come in and work at your agency, then that agency or organization is responsible for ensuring that contractor or vendor is trained.
And this is Nancy. I want to add one thing. This is only for contracts that were entered into or renewed since the bill was signed. So June 14th of 2019, the bill was signed. If the contract existed before then the contractors you don't have to have those contractors take the training. It's only contractors after the bill was signed.
Thank you, Nancy Rainasek, Chief Information Security Officer. Let's see.
Andy, there's one more question I'd like to address.
Yes, thank you.
We had a question about the availability of remote access tools. And I believe we'll answer the question directly, but I wanted to make everyone aware that DIR's cooperative contracts have posted a list of the cooperative contracts for remote access on the COVID-19 website. If you visit the website, you'll see the link. It's Cooperative Contracts for Remote Access. This will download an Excel file, and there you can access the available contracts for public sector entities for conferencing software. Things like Cisco WebEx, Google Hangouts, Microsoft Teams and Skype, Zoom, and Chime and iMeet available from the Amazon Cloud. Those contracts are available to entities as they begin to support remote meetings and the distributed workforce.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yes, that is available on the COVID-19 page. We are trying to update that as we see products come available or find products on our cooperative contracts, things we didn't know you needed, but you do. We have that whole spreadsheet available on the COVID-19 webpage. So a few logistics. Yes, we are recording this session, and we will upload the recording for you all, and we will send that link out. If you want the slide deck, you can go ahead and grab that. They're in the Handouts pane, if you see that pane to the right. So if you want the slide deck, it has all the resources we talked about today. You could go ahead and grab that now, but we will also be sending out a recording soon after this session.
Hey, Andy, there's a question that came in. Do you recommend phishing staff members as well, since it is a sensitive time? And I'm assuming that you're talking about that, or referring to phishing simulations. And it's up to your organization. Of course, that's, it's been shown to be effective, having a phishing simulation in place. There are some companies that have submitted and have certified programs, training programs that do training and phishing as well. But and then we don't necessarily recommend specific vendors for that, but of course enabling having phishing simulations in your environment will cut down on the number of times people click on links.
Thanks, Susie. Again, if we aren't able to get to your specific or specific question about cybersecurity that you're asking, we will follow up. We still have some more time, so if you have some more questions to ask us, we will be available. Want to be respectful of your time, so we are trying to get through as much as we can. DIR team, are you seeing any questions? There's a lot, but trying to get through some of the ones we can answer now. Is there a next event? That's a great question. So next steps, this is the second part of the series. We are looking into hosting more on this. We are taking a break just to kind of field some of the questions and also to see what topics are of importance to you all. So if you have suggestions for things that you want to hear about, we also welcome that. But really trying to get you the resources you need most important for this COVID-19 situation. Procurement is certainly was one of the first that people said they needed help with, and cybersecurity. So if you have any suggestions, we welcome that. We want to be here for you. We want to be sure that we are providing resources in a timely fashion that we could get you what you all need. So thank you.
There was a question that came in that said, do you know of anything for remote access to iOS that you have that you've seen? And there are lots of mobile device management solutions out there on our cooperative contracts program, and it probably I would guess that they are able to accommodate Macs and iPhones in the iOS.
Yeah, and I understand there's a lot of mobile device management solutions on iOS. on our cooperative contracts, so that those are available. Okay, so we did say that the audience for this includes public schools, school districts. So what about school boards? Can we discuss what requirements are for school boards? There's, as far as an extension of a deadline, I don't believe there has been an extension, but do we have direction we could talk to for school boards?
Yes, you're correct, Andy. There has not been a deadline for any of the groups or anybody that's required to take the cybersecurity training.
So, yeah, they're still required. Any elected official is required to take the training, and that has not been extended. And I will tell you that we did advocate for an extension, and we couldn't get it. So just so you know, it's not like we didn't try. So just so people know that.
Thanks, Nancy. Just a real quick reminder, and I didn't set it up to have the form in the handouts pane. So, but in any event that you all want to claim continuing education credit for the first part of the session, we can do that. So just email me, indy.silva@dir.texas.gov, and we could get you continuing education credit for anyone who needs that. So as we are getting close to the end of our session, can we do a real quick reminder on 3834 about that access? So I know there's that stipulation of who has access to computer 25% of the time. Is that correct? Can we get some clarification on that? And if anybody from the DIR team wants to chime in as well, I will open that up as well.
So this is Nancy. So we define access as having a user ID. And so for state employees, it's employees that have access 25% of the time or more. For local government employees, it's any access. For elected officials, and elected officials is for both state and local, or appointed officials, which is just state, it doesn't matter if they have access or not, they have to take the training.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And we know that this is the situation at hand, and we are asking that you all, when you submit certification, go ahead and make note of those issues. Let us know your completion percentage. Of course, we all hope it's 100%, but if you could just make note of the issues you faced in getting your completion percentage, so that way we have record of it and we can include that in our digest. We will do our best to advocate for you all, of course, but we are under statutory regulations as well. So just for the record, please let us know some of the issues that you all have faced.
Andy, there was a question that was out there. Can school board members choose different trainings to take from staff, or must we take the board approved or selected training? And they can take any certified training program. It can be any one of the programs listed on there, and the training must include all of the modules or content that is listed in the certified program. And the organization has to approve it.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Again, if we're not getting to your specific question, we will follow up very, very shortly after this session. We're trying to field a bunch of different questions. A lot of them I know are 3834 related, but we have resources in this slide presentation. We have a list of resources for you all to follow up if we don't get anything you need right away. Let's see. So let's talk about reporting real quickly, if we can. If you are a state agency, the reporting for 3834 will be in your agency security plan, correct?
Yes.
And if you are a local government, you will note your employees will report through the Texas by Texas application. And we've sent out a few communications about that for local governments. Again, there's a lot that's in that entails, and so we're happy to walk through the steps. TXT, the Texas by Texas application, is an optional system that you all can use to track that compliance. That working with DIR, we will help you track that compliance if you choose to use that. So I know there's a lot to this, and I'm trying not to create confusion. So we want to be sure we are getting your specific questions answered more on a one-on-one basis.
So local governments must certify their training compliance by June 15th of this year using the Cybersecurity Training Certification for local governments. The TXT option, TXT app reporting is an option.
Right, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, I think we've got a lot of the questions that we can talk about today. I think we've got them. Let's see. One last question. So can the agency have the vendor contractor administer the certified training and show proof to report the completion back to the agency? We are getting an answer to that.
Yep. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Indy.
This is real-time town hall right here.
It's called the mute button. So can the agency have the vendor contractor administer the certified training and show proof to report the completion back to the agency? Yes, they can do that.
We got a question of whether school district employees are required to report in the TXT system. Again, the TXT, the Texas by Texas TXT application is optional. It's a tool for you all to use if you need help tracking your employees and your employee compliance, but it is not required. And I'm going to send my email address for anyone who needs CPE credit. Here is my email, and I will get that to you. Okay, well, I think we are going to we're going to end the session here. Again, if we didn't get your question, we will do our best to follow up and get the questions that you have specifically for your organization. We'll get those answered to you in a timely fashion. But we really do appreciate your time today. We appreciate you spending this cloudy, awesome afternoon with us and participating and getting the questions out, because this really helps us inform our guidance and our resources that we provide to you all. We welcome any additional ideas you have for these series, what you all need to hear from us, what we can do to better serve you and be that resource for you for technology, for cybersecurity, for IT procurement. Really appreciate your time, and we will follow back up with some more information. All right. Thank you all. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we will talk to you soon.